Hello and welcome to another one of my unboxing videos. Today we're going to take a look at the NZXT H440 designed by Razer. Possibly one of the most anticipated products in a long time, by Razer fans at least, is a case that holds the Razer logo from the manufacturer. And personally, I am giddy over actually getting my computer set up in this. Anyways, but let's get on to the unboxing. So first of all, looking at the box, I actually got the back there. Let's start with the front. There we go. So on the front here, we've got the standard graphics. We've got the case shown very nicely with showing the front and side. Along with the beautiful Razer logos, as well as NZXT H440 and the Designed by Razer graphic. And of course along the bottom we've got NZXT's slogan. Moving on to the side, we've got my shipping information, you're not allowed to see that, as well as underneath that it looks like some specifications which really should not have been covered by the shipping information. I would have preferred that to be on the other side where there's absolutely nothing. But I can't change that. Anyways, moving along to the back. We've got, again, more pictures of the case itself. We've got one of the side panel with the window and logo. We've got one of the power supply shroud. We've got one of the front or top I/O and power buttons, and we've also got one of the cable management area underneath it. And as well, we've got a whole bunch of text down here, which is in multiple languages, it looks like, and that's just explaining what all the features of this case are. That way it's more universal, and they can ship it to any country without having to change their graphics. And finally, the last side, we've just got a very basic picture of the front of the case, as well as, of course, NZXT H440 and Designed by Razer again. And aside from that, nothing else very notable about the box other than it's got a nice green that goes with the Razer theme, and it's actually very visually appealing. If I saw this in a store, I would want it immediately, even though, well, like, besides that, it's also Razer, but anyways. As for the top, there's not much on there. It's really just like 2 stickers. That's it. So just take my word for it. I don't need to show it to you. Anyways, opening it up. One thing that I notice immediately is that it's going against the convention of most boxings of cases, where that in most case boxing the front of the case is oriented towards the side, so it's inside the foam. However, for this case, it's different in that the front of the case is immediately visible as soon as you open up the top of the case, or it's the top of the box, sorry. As you can see right there, that logo is the front of the case. Aside from that, the standard white foam blocks and what looks like a dust cover for the whole case. Not much else to note there. I don't see the instruction book yet, so I'll have to take out the case before we go on to that. Anyways, getting the case out of the box, this is always the hard part. Bear with me here. Okay, it's coming up. There we go. Alright. Oh, and there's the instructions. Alright, so setting the box aside, let's move on to the instructions and get those out of the way. We've got what looks like the standard NZXT H440 instruction booklet. Doesn't look like it's been customized for the Razer edition at all. However, as you can see, we've got 2 stickers, as per usual for Razer products. And I'm happy to see that NZXT has actually put those in there for this Razer case. So, very pleased about that. So anybody who uses stickers will be happy to see that there are stickers there. If you want to put more Razer logos on this case. I doubt you will though. Anyways, moving on to the case. As I said, 2 foam blocks as well as the dust cover. So taking off the top foam block, and then the bottom one's going to be the difficult part. Hang on. Get a handhold here. Come on. Alright. There we go. Okay. And last thing to get off is going to be this dust cover. Now, one thing to mention, this case is all metal, well, all steel except for some plastic elements, but it makes it very rigid. But taking off that dust cover, you're going to find that you may get a static shock, just from the dust cover and the foam. I didn't that time, thankfully, but I have found that in the past with all steel cases, you may get a shock. So just be careful of that. If you do it, don't worry, it's not going to damage the case or anything, but it's going to hurt. Anyways, let's look at the case. We're starting off with what looks like it's the right side panel. Not much to see there actually, which is very pleasing for the eyes. One thing to note though, this shows off the most of the paint job that's been customized for the Razer version. No other NZXT H440 case has this paint job. This is a very matte black finish, almost stealth black in fact. No light seems to reflect off of it, which is very nice. Very, very appealing to the eye. Aside from that, this side does not show off very much except for the front fan grill here. With I might mention the Razer edition of this case is different from the other editions of the H440 in that the grills on the sides and the top that we'll be looking at later, they are hex. So they're hexagonal shaped instead of just circles, which allows for greater airflow because there's more surface area for the air to go through. And that's something that Razer insisted on, and personally I'm happy they did, because that allows for more airflow on this silent case. Aside from that, nothing else on that side. Let's move to the front. Beautiful front. So on the front, again, there's not that much to see, and that's because this case does not allow any 5-inch drives, which is something that a lot of people have been complaining about, others have been very happy about. And the reason being is that, well, first of all, you're not going to be able to get any disk drives into this case, unless you're going to have to use external drives only. Also, if you have a water cooling device in one of the drive bays, again, you're going to have a hard time. And the last thing is fan controllers. So you're probably going to need to use either an internal software fan controller, or you're going to have to use one that uses the back. And NZXT actually has a few fan controllers that would actually work very well with this case, and I suggest if you are planning on getting this case to take a look at them. The Grid Plus as well as the Sentry LXE are both very good choices for this case. Going back to the front, we've got a little bit of detailing here. Aside from that, the only thing that stands out is the beautiful Razer logo, which will be backlit when the system is turned on with a nice green color. That can be turned off with a button in the back, which I'll show you later. And out of the box, that's covered with a anti-scratch film, which protects it in when it's going through manufacturing as well as shipping, which is very nice to see. Because I've heard that these scratch very easily. Aside from that, not much else in the front. Let's move over to the left side. So on the left side, the thing that takes up the most space, of course, is this window right here, again covered with the anti-scratch coating, which is very nice to see again. Aside from that, we've got just this fan grill up here, again the hex design, which is for the top fans. But back to the window. So this window is going to show off everything inside. However, it is tinted, which isn't something you don't see very often. So because it's a tinted window, you're going to only see everything inside when it's lit up inside by either LEDs that you have in there or cold cathodes, things like that. So I recommend, if you're getting this case, if you want to see your components on the inside, definitely get some LEDs. Whatever color you choose is your choice, so I recommend either green or white, because any other color might look weird with the LEDs that come up with this case. But as well, as we'll see in a second, there's also an LED backlit logo for an LED backlit Razer logo that will show up right here, and that's on the PSU shroud. So you're going to see that when the case is turned on as well. Moving along to the back, what we've got here is it looks pretty standard, but a couple of things to note. For the power supply port, this comes off, and what happens is you have to take this off, screw it onto your power supply, and then put the power supply through this hole. So some power supplies might be too large, so I recommend, if you're getting this case, to double check other reviews. Unfortunately, I don't have the money to buy a ton of power supplies and test them with this case for you. But later on, if I do get a lot of support from you guys, I will start doing that, of course. But for now, check other review sites, check the manufacturer's site. I'm sure you'll be able to find a list of power supplies that will fit in this hole, and so that you don't accidentally buy this case and then realize, oh crap, my power supply doesn't fit. Moving on from the power supply cover, we've got two water cooling grommets that every case has nowadays apparently, even though I don't ever see them being used. We've got the ports along the back, as well as a hole for your motherboard I/O. And then beside that, we've got another fan grill, again with a hex design. And something to note about the NZXT H440 is that it has these slots that allow your fan to move up and down for more space, or to move it out of the way of components inside your case, such as the RAM or anything else that you might have in there. Of course, this supports 120 and 140 millimeter fans or water cooling setups. Moving on, we've got another grill for the top fans up here. And aside from that, oh, the last thing to mention, this button right here, this actually controls all the LEDs on the case, if wired properly for us. When this button is pushed, it will either turn on or turn off the front LED, the side LED, as well as the bottom LEDs that we'll be looking at in a second, and the two LEDs that are here, which I have yet to mention. There are two LEDs here that shine down to light up your I/O at the back, which is something that NZXT has recently been doing, and I love it because it allows you to see all of your ports when you're diving under your desk to wire this bad boy up. Aside from that, not much else to mention about the back. We've got the screws, which I'll be talking about once we take this thing apart. But let's move on to the top. So, let's take a look at the top. So the top, very plain. Something that you don't see with very many cases is that there's no grill for the top fans here. The top fans airflow comes solely through the left side and the back of the case. Because this is technically a silent case, it has some foam in there, and that's going to keep it silent. So this is all flat. And something I love about that is that you can put things on top of here. You can put an external disk drive or an external hard drive, whatever you want, on top of here while it's plugged in. And that's something I love because I've had cases before and I'm afraid to block the airflow. So that's something great. Moving on to the USB ports, we've got 4 USB ports. We've got 2 USB 2.0 and 2 USB 3.0 in the classic Razer green color, which they spent millions of dollars on, or so I've been told, to actually develop those green USBs, as well as a mic and headphone out jack. And of course, we've got a power button, which will light up for your hard drive status indicator as well. And we've got a reset button. Another thing to note, reset button. I cannot push that with my finger, and I doubt anyone can. And that's designed on purpose like that, so that you don't accidentally push that button, which is something I am all for, because I've spent countless hours raving anyways, I've pushed the reset buttons way too often on accident, so that's something I love. Nothing else to note about the top. It's very plain. Last thing to note, or last thing to look at, is the bottom. So let's take a look at that. Try not to scratch any of the paint because it's really beautiful. So the bottom, it's painted as well, which shows just how much work has been put into actually making this case. Like they went into the effort of painting every single component of this case, both inside and out, with this matte stealth black paint job, which is very nice. It shows just how much what you're paying for, and honestly, I think it's a very good deal to actually get this case, even though it is slightly more expensive than the other H440 versions. Anyways, looking at the bottom, first thing you notice is the white strips here. Those are diffusion panels for the green LEDs that shine from the bottom. And what that will do is that will give you a very smooth LED effect underneath your case. Aside from that, we've got the 4 feet, which are raised about 2 centimeters from the bottom of the case to allow for plenty of airflow underneath there, as well as for the LEDs to do their job, which is very nice. A lot of rubber on there, and they feel very sturdy, so I don't think you're going to have any problem with those breaking. And last thing to note is the power supply fan dust cover, which does come off, just like that. And it goes back in just from the back of the case. And that, the rails for that are actually very consistent. So I doubt you're going to have any issue with actually putting that in or taking it out while the case is set up and standing up. So I definitely approve of this. Oh, last thing to note. These holes here, those we're going to take a look at on the inside, but those are going to be used for mounting hard drives on the bottom of the case. And you might need to do that if you have a lot of hard drives. Anyways, that sums up the outside of the case. Now we're going to move on to the inside. So let's move on to taking apart this bad boy. Alright, moving on to the inside of the case. Using a screwdriver, because these will probably be very tight from the manufacturer. Undoing the screws on the side panel. We're just going to take off that window panel. Oop. Don't do what I just did. Don't, because this paint is very easily comes off. Alright, so taking a look at the, first of all, the inside of the left side panel. We've got over here, it's a little hard to see because it's black along with the rest of it, but we've got some sound dampening foam, which is a nice thing to see. As well as another anti-scratch coating on the inside of the window. And also, something that's very nice to see on cases is how the screws, they actually don't come out of the hole. Well, they can if you force it, but I wouldn't if I were you. But these screws will just stay in there, so you can't actually lose them, which is very nice to see. Aside from that, nothing else special about this window, so I'm going to put that aside and take a look at the inside. So, a lot of things to talk about here. First of all, on the right, you can see that there is a solid piece of metal here. That's where all of your hard drives are going to go, or all your hard drive and solid states, I mean. So all your drives are going to go behind this. But as for like when you have the panel off, you actually can't see any of that, which is very nice. It means that you're not going to be looking at a lot of wires or a lot of different colored things. It's going to look very, very pristine. Moving along, we've got our motherboard tray at the back here, and there's also some grommets in there. Actually, let me grab my flashlight here, just so you can see that. We've got some cable grommets there, some nice rubber ones, as well as what looks like NZXT Design inscribed in it. Moving on to the bottom, down here is one of the things that everybody loves about the NZXT H440 is the actual the power supply shroud. Very few cases are actually have a built-in shroud. It's usually a thing that has to be added by a modder. So this is something that everybody loves because it looks like it's part of the case because it is. And that's just something that's very hard to get when you're actually modding a case and adding a power supply shroud. Another added bonus is that you actually get this this Razer logo here, which is LED backlit, as I said before. And right out of the box, you're also going to find that it is anti-scratch coated as well with a plastic sheet. The last thing to mention about the inside of this side, we've got these two solid state drive or 2.5 inch drive trays here. No, not 2.5. Whatever. Solid state drive trays that allow you to place two solid states or very small hard drives on the top of your power supply shroud, and the wires would go back here to the two slots here. And that allows you to get those two extra drives in there if you fill up all this space. Though I doubt you will unless you're running a server or you just love storage. Aside from that, we've got a whole bunch of holes for cable routing along the top and along the bottom. And moving over to, oh, careful, the rubber on the bottom is really strong, just saying. Moving along to the back again, we've got a fan already installed, one of NZXT's stock fans, though personally I will be taking that out to put in a water cooling setup. But we have that, as well as of course your slots for motherboard devices. The name is slipping my mind. And another thing to note, all of the motherboard standoffs, they come pre-installed, so that'll make your build time much easier. So just something to note about that. Aside from that, not much else in here. So let's move on to the back side. Let's see here. Lift this bad boy up. Once again, this thing is made of all steel, so it does not feel like it's breakable. It feels very sturdy. It feels like it feels like in a very quality case. So you're going to enjoy it having this case. I guarantee it. Oh, wrong screw. Don't take out the wrong screws, otherwise your side panel will not come off. Just saying. Alright, taking out the side panel, and flipping it over for you guys. Once again, we've got some black sound dampening foam here. Again, very hard to see, but that's a good thing. It means that it won't stand out inside your case. And also those screws that will not come out of their holes unless you force them. Although you're a monster if you do that. Just saying. And right out of the box, I already noticed that there are two large marks on the sound deafening foam. That's probably from the cables that are pre-installed. So you may find varying levels of damage on it already, and it will probably get damaged once you're done installing all your components and wires. And so just be careful about that, I guess. If you want that to stay pristine, I recommend being very thorough in getting your wires flat and out of the way, and especially with zip ties. Aside from that, not much else to note about this panel, so let's put that aside. And let's look at this beautiful side. First thing that pops out is all the hard drive trays along this side. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hard drive trays. Each of them supports one drive, either a standard hard drive size or the smaller solid-state drive size. And they come pre-installed with rubber grommets, which I will show you right now. If I can take these things off. All the screws are very tight from the manufacturer, which is a good thing. It means that they were nothing was done shoddily, and I'm very pleased about that. Though it does make building it to begin with very difficult. So, take a look at this hard drive tray. Once again, we've got the screws that do not come out of their holes, so you won't lose those things. Aside from that, we've got 4 rubber grommets installed, pre-installed and glued down, it looks like, so that when you screw on your hard drive, it will stay there. One thing to note, though, you're going to have to screw on your hard drives, and you're probably going to be using some flat screws, not thumb screws. So this is the only time you're actually going to really need tools, as well as for the motherboard. But aside from that, this is a relatively toolless case, which is a very good thing to know. And as for just putting that tray back in, it just slides in like that, and there it goes. And it just fits into the slots at the back. You'll find that it's going to be a little difficult to get that in there because of the there's no slides along the side, so you're going to have to finagle with it until you get the thing in the back. But once it's in there, it's not moving, so you won't have any vibration issues. It will be very sturdy in there, which is very good. Let's see here. Moving down. We see that we've got a box of what I can only imagine are screws or other assorted accessories attached to one of the hard drive trays, so it doesn't get lost in transportation, which is good. Down further, we've got what looks like it's a diagram for the LED wiring. Something to keep in mind. Follow this very carefully. Otherwise, you may run into issues with your case exploding or whatever. You know, all the standard doomsday shit. Pardon my language. This is YouTube though, so you better be used to it. Anyways, we've got all the wires that are. Let's see here. Interesting thing to note. I don't see this very often. Most of the time, wires are zip tied down from the manufacturer. In this case, they're not. They're actually using twist ties to keep them down, just so that they'll move around in transportation. So it'll actually be very easy to rewire this thing, and it looks like they were planning on letting you to just rewire it yourself instead of them saying this is how it's supposed to be, don't change it. So that's something really nice to see from a manufacturer, and I approve. But moving along, down the bottom here, we see that this is where all the wires are going to be going for your power supply, because your power supply is going to be on this side here. So all power supply wires and pretty much any other wires that you have around the back are probably going to go through this area, because it is covered by that power supply shroud. So it's best to use up that space, because then you don't have to see any of your wires. So something very nice to have on a case, and I definitely like it. Moving over again, we've got the power supply area with a little indent, I'm assuming to hold the power supply from shifting around. Moving up to here, this is a pre-installed fan hub, so you can control all the fans in the case using only one fan port on your motherboard, which is nice to have that pre-installed, because this case does accept 3, 6, 7 fans on it. With water cooling, you may even get more. So something definitely good to have on the case, and I'm sure somebody would get one if it didn't come with it. Moving up, well, just noting along the back, we've got a whole ton of cable tie-down points. Actually, a lot more than most cases have, in my opinion, which is very nice to have, because it means that you have so many options for where you want your wires to go. You've got a line here, you've got some here, 2 over here, as well as a bunch up here, and some over here as well. So that's a very nice thing to see in a case. Moving up, another circuit board here. This is for, I can only imagine, the LED control. So that's going to go to the button along the back, as well as all the LEDs in the case, so on the front, side, bottom, and back. And that just allows you to turn them on and off, as well as power them. So that's something that you're going to be working with probably once you get this case. Aside from that, not much else to note about the back. Of course, the cable routing points and the grommets. Not much else. So let's move on to the front of the case. And let's take this thing off. Now, I've been told that, yeah, that's exactly. This is a very sturdy front mount or front panel. So you're going to find it's difficult to get this thing off. I recommend once you have the 2 side panels off, if you just squeeze the tabs along the bottom to start it, then the rest will come off very easily. Okay, when you're taking this off, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to undo this wire. This just goes to the front LED. Otherwise, you may cause damage to things. So please do that. I hate it when technology gets damaged. Let's see here. There we go. So we're just going to undo that wire. Now let's take a look at the back of the front panel. So again, we've got sound dampening foam in the nice black. And aside from that, we've got not much else. Just the wire for the front LED that I just said, and we've got all of these posts for mounting it on. Nothing else to really mention. So let's move along. Let's look at the front fan growth. So we've got our dust cover for the front fans, which is magnetically attached. So we've got 2 magnets up here. So you just pull that off, and you just slide it up, and that'll come off nicely. And it's nice to see that there are fan dust covers pre-installed. It means that I don't have to buy them or put them on myself. So very nice to see. And then we've got 3 pre-installed fans. Again, NZXT's pre-installed fans. So these are 120 millimeters. I don't know what the model number is, but I'm sure you can find it on the manufacturer's page, which I will link in the description below. Aside from that, we've got 2 wire navigation points here. So you can put wires through there to power whatever you want to put in the front if you do choose to do that. But again, we've got the 3 default fans and not much else along the front was the rest of the case. It's very plain, but it does everything that you need it to do, which I love. Except for disk drives. So that's the only downfall as far as I can see so far. Yeah, I've got these 3 fans. I've been told that they're very performance fans. I'll have to see that once I get this thing running. But I will probably be replacing them with a BitPhoenix Spectre Pro or the likes. But one thing to note, if you take out these fans and you take out all of the disk drive or the hard drive trays, then you will be able to put in a 360 millimeter water cooling setup or smaller along the front, which is something that most mid-size cases don't allow you to do. So that's what makes this one unique. And as you'll see in a second, you can also do that on the top. Anyways, as I've said, moving along to the top, we're going to take off this top panel. Oh shit, tripping over some stuff. So once again, I've been told that they are very tight. So I'm just going to just gonna play with the tabs here until I get this thing out. Now you could pull this off, and I doubt you'll damage it because this is, as I said before, this is all steel except for a little bit of plastic elements. So you can. Jeez, there we go. It's sturdy, which is good. With since it's taken me so much effort to actually take this off, it shows me that it is actually very sturdy and it's not going to break if while I'm using it. There we go. Oof, that's actually pretty heavy. All steel. Very nice. So yeah, getting off this top panel. As you can see, we've got this is where all the front I/O is going to be. A good thing to note is that all the front, the ports at the top and the power buttons, you can take out this panel without having to disconnect any wiring or anything, which is very nice. So it allows you to just access all of the fans and everything without having to worry about disconnecting a wire or damaging something. So that's very nice. So looking at the top, looks very similar to the front. We've got our sound dampening foam in black. We've got the power switches here that are permanently connected, screwed on, so you won't lose those, as well as the holes for the USB and everything. Not much else to mention about this aside from the grills for the airflow, but let's put that aside. Accumulating a very large pile of panels. Anyways, so let me show you the top of this thing. So there's the top. Again, we've got our USB ports, power, etc., blah blah blah. We've got space for 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans along the top. I forgot to mention as well, you can also get the same amount along the front, 3 120mm or 2 140mm fans. Which again, this will allow you for up to 360mm water cooling. So that's something very nice to note. That you could technically get 2 360mm radiators into this case, as well as a 140mm along the back. So water coolers delight, as they've been saying. Aside from that, not much else to note about the top. So let's put it back up on its front. Aside from that, I don't think there's much else to look at for this case. I'll move on to giving you a few close-up shots of the interior of this case, and then be sure to keep an eye out for my video of the case running. I would include it with this video. However, I'm currently at my parents' house for the on Christmas break, so I won't actually be able to switch over the internals of my computer until I get back in January. So keep your eye out for that in January. And now on to the internals. Alright, so now I'm behind the camera. Let's take a look. Here we have the close-up of the power supply logo, right here, again with the plastic on it. Here we've got the two SSD mounts that just come off via these screws and then slide off. We've got the two wire management ports for the SSDs or for your motherboard, whichever you prefer, as well as two more up here for your motherboard. Along the side, we've got cable grommets, rubber ones, 3 of them along for your motherboard. Along the left, we've got our fan here, nice and black, 140mm. Not much else along that side. And then moving along to the top, we've got our 3 fan mounts. Well, for 3 120s or 2 140mm, as well as our USB ports there, and our power buttons there. On the front, we've got the 3 fans pre-installed for 120mm, or if you want 2 140s, you can install those as well. And along this side, not much lighting back here. There we go. Along this side, we've got our bottom where the wires are going to go, as well as our hard drive mounting and wiring there. There's your LED routing point, and the fan hub, and some wires along the side as well. Not much else to note there. On the back, nice view of the interior here. You don't see that very often online, so and that's why I wanted to give this to you. And as well, there's the LED there for the back power I/O. There's another one there. And that's basically it. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit the little thumbs up button below. If you didn't like the video, then leave a comment and let me know what I can improve on. I love to hear from you. If you want to see other unboxing or review videos from me, then leave a comment asking for a certain Razer product or Razer themed product. I will not be doing any reviews of other products as of this moment, but I may be persuaded to do others if enough people comment about it. Aside from that, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I will definitely be posting more as I get more Razer products, and I may even do some of the Razer products I already have. Please feel free to check out my other videos. Aside from that, I am Razer Brony, and thank you for watching.